Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, which is on the topic of reclaiming your time. My name is Nick and I'm the Marketing and Business Development Officer at Davis Grant, and I'll be moderating today. Please take a second to familiarise yourself with the webinar controls. The audio options and controls are available to you along the bottom of the Zoom window. So if you're having trouble hearing me, please check the settings there. I'd now like to introduce today's presenter. Stephen Sanford is an accounting, tax and business growth specialist guiding fast-paced companies and entrepreneurs to achieve their company and personal goals. He is passionate about working closely with his clients, being part of the fabric of their company and taking enormous pleasure in assisting them to grow. He has over 20 years experience advising business owners with all aspects of their business. Please join me in welcoming Stephen Sanford.
Thanks, Nick. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be with you in this continually strange times that we live in, and we're talking about reclaiming our time. I don't know if we can rewind the clock for Brexit with the clock ticking as the things stand of just under, I think, 21 days. Will there be enough time to get a deal? Who knows? Who knows? We shall see. But nevertheless, certainly something that's been very passionate for me over this COVID period has been time and time management. And it's something that I've seen throughout my career personally, all stages of my career, now being an owner of an co-owner of an accounting firm, and also having advised businesses for 20 years and seeing how much time plays an impact and the various issues and problems that not managing your time effectively can cause. And so I thought, we're coming to the end of the year, it would be apt to put together a webinar to look at some of those things, to look at some tips and some strategies for you, some practical tips and practical strategies to look at for you to manage your time, and perhaps something for now as we enter the time for New Year's resolutions and so on and so forth, that now would be a good time to do that webinar. So I guess, first of all, the irony is not lost on me that the fact that you're here today, perhaps you're the wrong people that I actually need to speak to. And the people that either said they were too busy to subscribe to the webinar, or indeed subscribe to the webinar and now this morning have decided they're too busy, they're maybe the people that I should really speak to and not yourself. So first of all, well done for actually being on this webinar and dedicating this solid sort of hour to this place and to this time to look at this. So you're already halfway there, so that's the good news. But look, I start with the theme of this, really this quote, which is essentially, if either run the day or the day runs you. Who's in control? Who's in control, really? And a lot of the theme of what we'll speak about today is about control. Does the day control you, or do you control your time? And so what we're going to look at, hopefully it's going to be quite a solid amount of time, and we'll try and go through a number of things. One thing to point out is that I think Nick has agreed he'll send out all of the copies of the slides to all of you who are attending today, so you don't need to scribble anything down. A lot of the slides have a lot of information on them, so yeah, no need to write them down, and we will send them to everyone who's on this webinar today. So the 5-6 things we want to go through today is, number one, to understand why we'll always be busy. Number two, perhaps some mindsets, some ways to free our mind, how we can reclaim our time. Identify really where time is wasted. So it's not so much on reclaiming time, but actually looking at our time. What are we spending our time? Is it the best use of what we're doing with our time? Then we'll go into 5 actual practical strategies for freeing up your time permanently. And then 5, maybe with all this free time, look at what you might do with that time, and then perhaps some next steps. So coming on to why we'll always be busy. Well, the people on here, I imagine you all owner managers, business leaders in your own right. And so you will see in your team that this magical thing happens, that work expands always to the time available. So if you give a budget to one of your team and say, this is a task, it will take a week to do, I would say very rarely, unless perhaps you've got some super duper team member, they'll come back in 2 days and say, here you go, you gave me a week, it was done in 2 days. It will take 5 days, and it will get done in 5 days. The work expands always seems to do anyway, to the time available. The second part, of course, is there's no shortage of distractions. The main one, of course, is email, as we all experience, and I'm going to talk about email and some strategies for that later. But there's all sorts of distractions from, the team want to come and talk to you, which are both positive and negative, depending on what the work and what you're trying to concentrate on. There's distractions of outside influences from social media, from wanting to see what's on the BBC News website or the Financial Times, whatever it may be. So there's always those sorts of distractions, and they of course fill up our time and mean that we're not doing the things that we should be doing, and so it makes us feel busy. The next thing is that our perceptions of being busy change throughout our life. What I mean by that is, so my 12-year-old son, who gets home from school and maybe has 5 hours after school, and I'll say to him, in that 5 hours, you've got to do half an hour of homework, have a shower, and pack your bag for school. Maybe the max it will take is an hour. To him, it's so busy. There's no time to do that. I don't have the time. An hour. How am I going to fit that into my evening? It's impossible. What pressure you're putting me under to do that. So that's a child. And of course, as you go through the stages, and someone that's at university, that you may say, well, hang on, they've only got X amount, small amount of tutorials and lectures, and should have all the time in the world. Yet they feel they're under time pressure all the time. They're always busy. And then even take it to an extreme. Again, apologies for these personal examples, but I take my parents who are retired, and they'll often quote and say, I don't know, I'm so obviously, but I'm so busy. I'm busy all the time. I don't even know how I had time to work when I wasn't, with doing all these things. How did I fit it all in? So our perceptions of busyness change throughout our lives. Number 4 and 5. I think are quite pertinent, and perhaps 4 in particular is a societal thing, might even be a global thing. I don't know, but there's this belief that saying you're busy and believing you're busy and trying to be busy means you're successful, and it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions of business, that busy means successful. It's not the case. It's doing the right things at the right time, and the important things that you should be doing at that time. Whether it means you're busy or not, that's an outcome. Being busy in itself should not be what you're striving to be. I want to be busy all the time. That's not where we should be going. And then number 5, of course, is the classic the classic thing with your team, where both looking, well, for yourselves first of all. Why am I not doing this? Why have I not joined a gym or a personal trainer? Why have I not gone for a run? Why have I not read those books that I've got on my shelf that I should have read? Or indeed your team. You ask your team to do something, and a few days later they've not done it. Why haven't you done it? I was too busy, and so on and so forth. So being busy is often an excuse. So essentially we're always going to be busy.
Stephen, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to offer you the opportunity before you move on to the next slide. After the agenda, we've got the opportunity to poll our attendees to ask them how they feel about how they feel about time pressure. Would you like to do that now?
Yep. Good point, Nick. Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, everyone. So I'm just going to bring up a screen here. So this is by Mentimeter. So this is interactive. So if you're watching this now, you can get involved. So grab your phone or open another window and go to menti.com and enter this code. And then you can answer the question and provide us with guidance and share interactively how you feel when under time pressure. Yeah, and what will happen is words will come up. So on the screen as people enter them. So, oh yeah, we've got stressed. I'm sure that's a big one. And so if you add your words, oh, anxious, we've got as well. Do you feel that if one of the words that comes up, you would like to echo that, you can enter that word again, and the word cloud will take that into account, so it will get bigger as we go on. So we'll just give you a minute there to please do submit your how it feels when you're under time pressure. Oh yeah, fear of failure. I know that's a big one for me. Lack of focus. Oh yeah, thank you so much for all these suggestions. Please do get them in. Stressed, yeah, stressed is coming up.
Interesting, very interesting, yeah.
Angry when under time pressure. Oh, someone feels energized when under time pressure. I can relate to that. When sometimes I think that to me, Stephen, that speaks about your point about when you feel busy, you feel like you're you feel like you're being active, don't you?
Oh no, you're right, it's true. When I used to cram for exams, I did feel a bit energized. Wasn't perhaps the best strategy, but yeah. Okay, no, I think wow. Well, clearly I think, and the point of Menti, Nick, is that the ones that the biggest are the ones that most people have commented. So clearly, still be more. So stressed is the biggest. So that's most people commented on that, and anxious. Yeah, absolutely. And apart from the person or people that said energized, in the main, yeah, that is the impact of time pressure. We'll stress, we'll feel anxious, and we're not performing to our peak ability. So no, thanks for that, Nick. It'd be good to. I'm sure you'll save that. It'd be good to reference that afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you.
So let me get back to. Where are we? Here we are. Right. There we go. Okay, is that good, Nick? We got that?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for participating.
So we said we'll always be busy, and great. So really, what we're looking at in terms of time is this is a very famous an extract or a slide put together from a very famous book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's the I think it's the 30th anniversary of that book coming out, and I think it really has had a renaissance in the last few years, and it seems to be a lot of the books that I read seem to be referencing it far more than they did do. Maybe it went out of fashion, but it's back in. And especially as we all look to ourselves and how we can empower ourselves and improve ourselves, how to be highly effective is something that's very important. And really, I'm not going to talk about the whole book, but the ones particularly in terms of reclaiming your time are the first 3 habits, which are the ones at the very bottom, on the bottom left of the slide, which is being proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. So actually, one of the things that we did, and I do recommend this, and I did done this with the team at Davis Grant, and Nick can testify to this, is that I actually got for the 30th anniversary of this book, I don't know if you can see it here, but they actually produced flashcards, one for each week, of these 7 habits of effective people, highly effective people. And what I do is we use Microsoft Teams as a communication channel in the office, and I created a channel for these flashcards, and I post one of the flashcards every week. There's 52 weeks each week to the team, which have some absolutely brilliant ideas, and it just condenses the book into just 52 flashcards. But anyway, moving back to the slide. So being proactive, essentially this is it. You need to be in control of yourself. You need to improve your life through the things that you can do, that you can make an influence in. And in fact, I've got one here, which is this was week 9. We had this a number of weeks ago, but it's from that Be Proactive. And in fact, it says here, think of a big challenge that you're facing, list everything that you can control, and determine which action you will take today. So absolutely spot on, and beginning with the end in mind, and putting first things first. The example I give, to be honest, for all of this is at the moment, I thought for myself that COVID, what's going on there, Brexit, there wasn't enough stress in my life at the moment. So I decided that myself and my wife and family we're going to move house and move different areas, different schools, and so on and so forth. And because we needed more stress. And so in that respect, as anyone, I'm sure anyone who's moved house knows that there are many things that are out of your control, but there are many things that are in control. And there's no point worrying about the things necessarily that are out of your control. Do the things that you control and be proactive on those things. And really for us, in terms of moving house, it's begin with the end in mind. What do I envisage the end position to be? Having a home where we're at, we've got internet that's working, the kids are settled in a new school, a new area, so on and so forth. And so that's my focus, that's the end. And then I can look at each day, what are the things, we've got a list, me and my wife, to work through all the things we need to do that we can tick off and do 1 or 2 things every day that build up to that process. So I use that, and of course it's put first things first. So as much as what colour scheme we might need for the lounge is important, and I'm sure it is very important, nevertheless making sure that it's a financially right decision, that we can afford the mortgage, that the survey is okay, and so on and so forth, are perhaps more important. And these are the things that are first things first. So it's putting the priority into those things. And essentially, one of those things about being proactive, about taking control, is this model called the all-bed model. And this is something that I've spoken to many of our team on. It's something that we try and achieve. And essentially, all beds, as you can see, it stands. Why it's called all bed is it takes the first letters of the 6 words there on the screen. And the idea is that in anything that you're doing, and using this as applicable for reclaiming your time. For your time, you need to take ownership of it. You need to take accountability, responsibility. You need to be above the line. You don't want to be below the line. As I said, using the example of, if only I had time to go to the gym, if only I had time for this, if only I had time for that, I would do X, Y, and Z. That's below the line. That's blaming, the excuse, and denying. And so very much in terms of reclaiming your time, you need to be above the line. And this applies, by the way, this model is really, really great, and use it for our team in terms of, if for example, they might have made an error or a mistake or done something not correct, and assuming they have been fully briefed and they were given full delegation, which I'm going to talk about later on delegation, really we encourage the team to be above the line, take ownership, accountability and responsibility, rather than the blame, excuse and deny. But certainly for reclaiming your time purposes, take control, take ownership and control of your time. So another book that I've read over this COVID period is one by James Clear called Atomic Habits. I've got it here. It's very good book. Do recommend reading it. And essentially what it boils down to is saying that there's no good sort of hoping that you can change your outcomes in what you're doing. So if you say, yeah, if only I had more time, if only I could do this, or I really want to I don't know, whatever it may be, lose a stone or something, or become healthier. But until you change your habits and your processes, and obviously it goes even further into identity, but for the purposes here, so until you change your habits, you'll never change the outcome. You can have every great idea that you like, and guess how many New Year's resolutions ever actually people do them. So because they're not actually changing their habits. They have an idea, but until they actually change what they're going to do and their habit itself, nothing's going to happen. And so what James Clear speaks about, and particularly one of the areas, is It's changing those little habits subtly, those little things in your life that can then impact hugely the outcome. And he uses this concept of cue, craving, response, and reward. So what does that mean? So, for example, let's say that you wanted to do a project. You've got a complicated project or a piece of work that you need to really concentrate on for a period of time. I'm sure we all have it. You just want a piece of quiet, and you need a few hours to do it. Then what happens is in this scenario, the cue might be you see in the corner of your screen, as you may be having at this moment in time, through the little email icon pops up, and you've got an email. And you see that, oh, there's an email there. And so that invokes the craving, which I guess is like the dopamine hits of it. And it's in the back of your mind. Oh, shall I see that email? Shall I not? It's a bit like when you, on WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever it may be, the little red icons or the notifications gets you excited. You want to see what's going on. And so you think, oh, I've got to relieve my craving. So you click on the emails and you do the emails. And then what's the response? Well, the response is, that one might take 5 minutes, might take 10 minutes. All right, I'll deal with that one. I'll deal with that one. And before you know it, the 2 hours that you'd allocated for the project have vanished. You've dealt with 5 emails. You're no better than you were. And what's the reward? The reward is, in truth, pretty rubbish. I mean, there isn't a reward. You feel unsatisfied. You feel, I've not got anywhere. I've not achieved anything. And that's really, that's the problem. That's the problem with it. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I moved on there. So, and that's the problem with it. So the idea is that actually, if we can change what our cues are, change our cravings, change our responses, it will lead to a reward that is actually what we want. So, for example, it might be that the way to do this is the day before the task is you actually list out all of the things that you want to achieve in that day, and so that's your list of things that you want to do. And you, as part of your queue, you turn off your phone and your email notifications. So what does that mean? The craving, you have to create what's your craving. Your craving then can become, for example, ticking off each of those things that are on your to-do list as they come along. And that creates that craving, that sense of enjoyment, that sense of satisfaction, that you get the highlighter or the red pen and you cross through what you've done. That gives a feeling, that gives a reward. And so what's the response? Well, the response is that you can actually then do the business plan, do the project that you set out to do. And that can give you great satisfaction. And the reward, well, as well as the actual getting the work done, you may even structure it and say, you know what, if I do this to-do list and I get through these tasks, if I spend 2 hours of solid or an hour of solid work, I can have a coffee at the end. And so that's your reward. You're working towards that coffee at the end. And so you structure it so that the reward of the coffee is pushing you to do this. You've got your to-do list, and that's really a method. So it's restructuring. So it's not being reactive, not having these cravings, the things that pop up. I just need to check social media quickly. I just need to check my emails. They're the wrong cravings to have. Think about this: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So where is time being wasted? Well, this is really interesting. This is also by Stephen Covey, and it's called the Achiever Matrix, based on this thing called the time management grid. And really, I think we can all resonate with this in certain respects. And the two that I'm particularly going to look at is we start off in Quadrant 4. You can see here, so the way this box is divided you've got the urgent and not urgent tasks at the top headings, and on the side there, on the y-axis, is the not important, important, and that's how it's divided. So really, number one is, and you have to ask yourselves this: how much time are you spending in Quadrant 4? The bottom right-hand corner, the quadrant of waste. This is a real one that just sucks out time, doing junk, emails, time wasters, escape activities like social media, even things like phone calls where you're trying to do some work and a client, you see a call coming up, you have no idea because you haven't answered it and it's not been filtered or anything like that. Is that call going to be a 1 minute phone call, or is that call suddenly going to be an hour? And what's the value of that call? And does it need to be you who takes the call? Could it have quite easily be done by another colleague who would have been more appropriate than yourself to deal with? So that quadrant of waste, you need to look at that and remove as much of that you can. The one that is, for me, is particularly interesting is Quadrant 3. And this comes back to one of the things I was saying earlier about being busy, that it's being busy on what? And this is the key thing. We can all make ourselves busy. Oh yeah, I dealt with loads of emails. Oh, I checked this. I went on LinkedIn and looked up some bits and pieces and so on and so on. You can easily fill your day. We can all fill our day with anything to make ourselves feel like we're busy. And therefore, we feel like we're a success, as I said before. But if you have a look at it here, as I said, the Quadrant of Deception, it's actually what stuff are you doing that really you could delegate? What stuff is there that actually, if you created a framework and a structure that doesn't need to be you, should not be you, or if you put a system and a process in place that that you could achieve and not be dealing with these? Well, yes, they might be urgent, but they're not important. So a client might need a call back, but it may be that they can actually have a call back by the end of the day. It doesn't have to be that moment and that time. It can also be that there's certain meetings that perhaps some people in your team could take those meetings instead of yourself. That, yes, they're important meetings, but actually empowering some of your team, whether it's management or other people in the department or whatever it may be, that they can do the meetings to allow you to concentrate on other things. Look, there's always going to be stuff in to do, which is in Quadrant 1, which is the urgent important. We all have that, and there's no getting away from that stuff. That's the really, really important, as it says there, the crises, the pressing problems, certain deadline-driven projects. But that's fine, and that's the important stuff. But the problem with spending too much time in Quadrant 3 and Quadrant 4, the stuff that is not important and urgent, and the worst, not urgent and not important, is that you never get around to spending any time on Quadrant 2. And probably for a vast majority of the people on this webinar, number 2 is really where you want to be. Number 2 is where you get the satisfaction. It's doing relationship building, it's planning, it's strategizing, it's preventing things from happening in the future. It's the stuff that we would love to spend our time doing. It's important to plan, to strategize, all those things, but because they're not urgent, or they never quite get around to being done. And if you can remove as much as you can from Quadrant 3 and Quadrant 4, Quadrant 3 through delegation, Quadrant 4 through managing yourselves and your own discipline and the techniques that we've spoken on and we'll speak on more, you can then spend more time on Quadrant 2, the stuff that's really, that is important and not urgent, but really needs to be done. So I'm going to speak about really 5 strategies that you can use. This isn't so much about suddenly, as such, creating new time and space for you, but it's in terms of utilizing your time better and the time you should be doing. This is quite an interesting, an interesting graphic, which is called the productivity pyramid. And what this essentially is doing is it's talking really more from if you started your business, you start up and the steps that would go in place and how you can leverage your time better. So to give you an example, let's take a dentist. So we start at the very bottom. So the way this works is you start at the bottom and then the graphic works. And so, a dentist, you might learn your trade, your profession, become an expert in what you are, and you set up a, well, you maybe just be a dentist for a practice, but then you decide, you know what, I'm going to set up my own dental practice. Okay, so, and that's in the improve. And then as we go up, and as we go up at each point, the time that you need to spend personally yourself on things starts to decrease, which is why it's sloping down, and you can see the time going down. And also the return on the time invested is the actual positive return, whether it's financial or in the time that you get, increases. So it may be the dentist that actually what they're able to do is they get some contractors in, they get dentists to hire a chair or work on there. And so they can spread the load, they can, spread the work, and you can grow a little bit more, and that's absolutely fine, and you get to that level. The next level up, but you still at that point, you're still doing a lot of the dentistry yourself. You're still seeing all your patients, and you may love. I'm not saying not to do this. You may love being a dentist, and that's what you want to do. But I'm showing this as just as an example, and. But then the next thing is, you know what, you have a look and you think, actually, the booking system is a disaster that we've got. So this next stage is investment in technology. The booking system we've got is a disaster. We can't keep track of when patients are coming in or not, or reminding them when it's their annual appointment. I don't know about yourselves, but I'm sure until relatively recently, my dentist was sending still like a postcard through the post, reminding me of my annual checkup. So clearly they could do with some investment. That must take time and spend money, but invest into systems and software that perhaps can do things quicker for you, and improve time, and therefore reclaim the time that's being spent by the admin team or indeed yourselves. Even better than that then is actually, right, you invested, but what about you've seen it, you've seen the practice, you've got experience, you know how a dental practice runs, but now you realise actually there's nothing off the shelf, there's nothing there that's actually solving the issues. I've spotted some unique issues, some unique problems, and actually I think I can solve those. So perhaps you create a new system or a new technology that you can actually apply to all dentists and actually say this technology could revolutionise your life. It might be a certain piece of equipment that you've always wanted that's frustrating that no one's ever created, or indeed could be some IT or software or technology, but you start doing that. The time that you've spent is now less because the technology, the systems are doing the work for you, and you start maybe selling that, and you're earning income through not your own time, not through every hour of the day. And of course, the last thing then is then to innovate, which is essentially is showing what you have learned and teaching others, and you may end up becoming, showing other dentists how to run their practice, how to behave, and of course you're a valuable person. You're an expert. You're in that field, and then you can charge your time to it while you've still got all of the systems and the processes which are running your dental practice. You've empowered your team. You've got the dental practice that you had is going well. You may have a number of dental practices as well, but now it frees your time up to really use your time that can have the highest, as it says, the return on the time invested. And so the productivity pyramid, very, very important. And certainly if that's someone here, I'm speaking to a vast number of people here on this webinar that are owner managers. So hopefully this sort of stuff very much resonates with yourselves. So this is an interesting one, which is strategy number 2, stop working with the wrong people. So in the theme of your time, and I can speak certainly as an accountant, we only have a finite amount of time, and therefore, who do we work with? What work do we do? Which clients do we choose to work for? And really, I know there's obviously a number of clients on this, so the fact that you're clients of Davis Grant knows you're not these sorts of people, but nevertheless, what takes up time? If you've got clients that you do all this work for and energy, but they don't pay your invoices, and so you have to spend time on credit control, and you have to spend time chasing them to pay, which is time you could have spent on more productive things. Or they're clients that treat your team badly, and so the team are upset, and so you have to spend time either managing the situation, dealing with them, either liaising with the team member if they're upset. Certainly myself, back in seems a lifetime ago now, back in last November. Unfortunately, there was a client at Dave's Client, which was quite sizable fees for me, for the practice, that had sent really a number of not nice emails that were totally unwarranted, totally over the top. And I said to the client, look, I understand you're a nice person. Funny enough, they only came when he was very stressed. When on a personal level was really a lovely person. We still sort of email from time to time, but from a professional level, stressed, it didn't work out. And it was causing too much time to manage the situation. It was distracting us from doing the work, from our team from doing the work there. Next one is they don't live into your core values. So what are the core values for yourself, yourselves as a business? What really is fundamental and you believe? So for us, Davis Grant, we've gone through this exercise ourselves. I do core values webinars, coaching sessions for clients to identify what our core values are. So, for example, it might be integrity. Do your clients always act with integrity towards you, and that's how you would like to behave? So, across the board, both with the team acting with integrity. So it's the wrong people. Do your co-directors or your management team act with integrity? So look at your core values. Are you working with the wrong people? And of course, unreliable. You're working to a project, to a deadline. You're focused on all of that. And at the 11th hour, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you. We don't need that now. Or actually, the deadlines, there's been a delay, and so it'd been in a month's time or something like that. And they keep on doing this to you over and over again, and you don't know where you are, and they're unreliable. So all of this takes time and sucks time from you. So stop working with the wrong people. So this is interesting. Might not apply to everyone listening today, but certainly it's important to run better meetings. Certainly all of you will have, assuming unless you're just a sole practitioner, a sole trader, you'll have meetings with someone, or you'll have meetings with your clients, your customers. So I think, again, it's important. Meetings can just, as we know, can run away. They really can. And so, for example, one of the strategies, the tactics that we've done at Davis Grant is to, instead of having an hour meeting that then can go on for an hour and a quarter, hour and a half, we've actually kept the meeting times when they're booked in at 45 minutes, knowing that actually that gives a bit of a focus. And also, when we're coming up with sort of 5-10 minutes to go, we say, right, we've got 10 minutes left. So what do we wish to finish off and cover in these last 10 minutes? So it really gives a focus to the meeting. Of course, if it does overrun to the hour, okay, that's fine, it overruns to the hour, but it's not going on beyond the hour. So I think these things are here, as it says, clear purpose and agenda, and agree actions, avoid lengthy discussions. This is also very important. So a meeting, and it's easier to say than to do, but meetings should not be the place for discussion, especially when there's a number of people there. Everyone's time is valuable, so the meeting should be more to conclude and ratify certain things rather than to lead to a discussion, especially if it's like a 45-minute catch up with your team or what's going on, or a plan for the week. They're not the times to have discussions. Discussions can take place offline, but the meeting should be focused when you've got a number of people on there to avoid lengthy discussions. And of course, the last thing is you have the meeting, you all speak, you chat for an hour, and then no one records anything. There's no minutes of it. There's no follow-up. There's no action points. And so it comes to the meeting, the team meeting a month later, and of course nothing's been done, which means it's even more of a waste of time because you spent that time and then you have to go over it again. So at the bottom of the slide says accountability. Has to be accountability following on from any meeting, and not accountability in a negative way, but for example, again, something that I do with my clients is after the meeting that I've had with them is I'll write like a board minutes, not formal board minutes, but a minutes of our meeting, and send it to them. And there was an action point as to, right, I promised to deliver this by this date, and you've promised to give me this information by that date. And that's something we can then refer to and say, right, per those minutes, who's going to be doing what and when, and it just clarifies it much better. So it's stuck here. Right, strategy 4, called the 10 hats. So anyone who's a business owner, this means at any one point in time you have multiple hats on your head, and it's broken down really into these 10 areas that are shown here on the slide. So really, as owners or senior management, or certainly the directors, you want to be spending your time again above the line. What does above the line mean? It means on the strategic things, the big picture stuff, the things looking in the future, looking forward thinking, and where at all possible below the line. Obviously, it depends on the size of your company and then whether you can do this. But I'll come on to it. Maybe for smaller companies, is in some respects more applicable. Is that you've got all of these other areas that any business has: HR, admin, technology, finance, marketing, sales, ops, and product service development. And so really the question is that who is going to do that? So coming back to reclaiming your time, what is your time best spent on? And the question always is, if you like, going back to my economics A-levels days of opportunity cost, is what's the opportunity cost of you doing all of those 10 hats and having all of those 10 hats versus you pay either getting one of your team to do them, or you empower them to do it, or to outsource that task. So there are certain things that you may say, well, you know what, I've got experience in those things. So for yourselves, you might be very experienced in marketing, but say Davis Grant as partners, an accounting firm, marketing, yes, we all have an idea, very much so, but marketing isn't necessarily our forte. And so we have wonderful people like Nick, who's doing this, this is far more of their forte. They can use their expertise. We empower Nick to deal with the marketing, and then a support network behind Nick as well. And it frees up the partners to then not have to spend as much time on the marketing side. Yes, we still very much have an input into it, but in terms of the practical stuff, which certainly, if I go back a number of years ago, we were very heavily involved. Everything that was on the website, everything that went out, was all done by us, and it took up an inordinate amount of time. So that's just one example. You may say HR, employment contracts, and dealing with the team's sick leave, and so on and so forth. Is that something that the directors, the shareholders should be dealing with when they should be dealing with bigger picture stuff, and they're dealing with data? It's important stuff. I'm not saying it's not important, absolutely, but is this really the stuff that you should be dealing with? And so the question is then, do you have that capacity in your existing business to either allocate those tasks to someone within the organization, or do you need to employ someone to fulfill those tasks? Or even better, should you, not even better, but another option is, should you outsource them? So for example, we do a vast number of payrolls for companies, because for businesses, rather than for them to employ a payroll person, or for the director to try and learn how to do payroll, and probably end up being a nightmare, especially with all sorts going on this year as well. It's just far easier to just say, you know what, I don't need to deal with the hassle of payroll. I'll outsource that. I'll outsource that to Davis Grant. I'll outsource it to wherever you may outsource it to. And so there they are considerations. And so to free up your time, to reclaim your time, look at this, go through this exercise. And I think as the next slide says here, get clarity around your roles. It's an exercise you should do. Look at those 10 hats. Work out delegation, personal development. Identify resource gaps. So where are we just not achieving? So it might be you've got no marketing at all. You've always got round to doing marketing, and you've got this website from 2003 that's still sitting there, and you keep on saying, yeah, I know, when I just get 10 minutes, an hour, I'll just look into it. But you just don't have the resource. So look at that. Look at the outsourcing opportunities. And this can hopefully help provide for scaling up in the future. So I talked about delegation. I've mentioned it a few times during the webinar, but really this is really, really important. And it's the difference between delegation and abdication. And delegation is so important to free up your time, because if you can delegate well and you learn how to delegate well, it will not only physically free up your time, the actual hours, but it also frees up your headspace, that you've actually passed this task to someone else, that then you can concentrate on other things, and it's not in your mind. You haven't got to worry about it, because even if you're worrying about it, then you're not fully focused on the task that you're supposed to do. And the key thing is that who are you going to delegate it to? Number one, who should you delegate it to? So should you say, I'm too busy to have a 3-hour meeting with my top fee-paying client, for example, so I'll get the most trainee junior person in the firm. I'm delegating that to you to run that meeting. Of course not. That would be crazy. So you want to delegate to the most appropriate person, and if there aren't appropriate people, then as I said before in the other slides, you need to train people. You need to invest to train those people up so they can do those challenges for you. You've got to be specific and clear in your communication. You've got to request that they need to repeat back what you have said to them, so they're clear. Set a time frame, clarify the objectives and expectations, and then following on from it, set a time to review whatever they've done. So if giving you an example of both how this can work well and not well, and of course abdication is the total reverse of this. So using an example for example, I might say to one of my team, can you check in with so-and-so client? So if I just say that, can you check in? Does the team member really have a clue what check-in means? Does that mean check in on their health, on the business, on the service we're providing? What does check in with them mean? So we haven't exactly been specific and crystal clear. So in theory, I've delegated. I was going to check in with them. I've asked one of my team to do it, but checking in with them, we're setting them up to fail. Absolutely setting them up to fail. So you need to be clear in what it is. So it might be, please, can you check in with them? They had a new project that they launched last month. They weren't sure how it was going to go. So please give them a call and find out how that new project is going. So that might be the case. The next thing is then set a time frame. So again, I might, in my mind, when I say, can you check in with that client, might be thinking that I would do that today. And so I would think somehow telepathically the team member will know that means today, but they don't know it means today. That says check in with them, and they might have other work they're doing. And so that might mean this week. And so what can happen is, because you haven't delegated properly, you did not give a time frame. So that's really bad, and really you've abdicated it. You've just said, oh, can you just check in with them? You've not given clear instruction, and really you're setting them up to fail. And if they don't call the client and you didn't tell them when to do it, then it's only yourselves that are to blame. Again, it's set the time to review the outcomes together. I think it's important when you say, for example, using my example, can you check in with that client today? We already say, and then I'll book in some time tomorrow so that we can go through what happened in the call, having to check out, is there any follow-up action points that we need to do? So it completes the loop and really gives the team member that clear instruction and that clear approach to what needs to be done. So don't abdicate. Where you're not setting the time, you fail to agree objectives, you don't review, and you just give a task to anyone and forget about it. So if you're one of those people that just says, do this, and you hope that they're somehow going to telepathically understand everything and do it perfectly how you would like it, you're setting them up to fail, and you're setting yourself and the business to fail. So at this point, Nick, I think I'm going to pass over to you. We have another poll. So this is a poll to do with what you will do with the time.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes. So yeah, this is another opportunity for those of you watching to, I hope you followed through with those strategies that Stephen were offering, and I know there was a lot of information there. As we've said, we will distribute the slides afterwards, so you can have a look at that and maybe get some of the books. So that's our previous slide, so thank you very much for joining in before. And now we've got a new slide, so an opportunity for you to tell us now what you will do with this extra time if you employ just even one of the strategies that Stephen has given to you. Please do go to menti.com again. If you've still got the window open, you might need to refresh it, or it might say go to slide. So in this time, you've got an opportunity to share with us what you think you can now achieve that previously you couldn't, given any of the strategies that you that Stephen has so kindly shared with us. So we got some coming in. More exercise, be more organized. So really putting things back in. Organize is coming through as another one there. Yeah. So we'll give you a minute here to what can you now, if you were to use these strategies, what would you now bring in? So these might be things you could be teaching others, spending more time doing more things, being more focused, being calmer, spending more time with family. Yeah, thank you. Go on holiday. Yeah, looking forward to that one myself. Here's one. Review what we are doing well and make sure we continue. So yeah, that to me that speaks to what's that matrix that Stephen shared with us about the really important but non-urgent tasks that you might be struggling to get to, and reviewing and planning. Oh yeah, so a strategy for 2021, someone says. Oh yeah, and creating new business. Thank you so much for all your really good answers. Yeah. Great. I'll give it last few if they sneak in. Yeah, thank you to the 12 people who've 12 people out of the attendees who shared it. And I think Stephen, I think this is something that you're going to talk about in a second, and you have touched on already, is that the 7 habits and the all-bed mentality is the accountability. And I think that stating what your intention is, what your goal is here, and sharing it with us is a very good first step towards actually being able to achieve it, isn't it? That's it. Now it's written. You have to stand by that, or everyone. So that's it. Whoever's submitted these, you've got to stand by that. There you go. Yeah, be satisfied. Good. All right. Thanks, Nick, for running that. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for participating as well. That's it on that slide. Yeah, we haven't quite finished. Yeah, participating on the. Here we are. All right. Done. Good. Yeah, it can be seen, Nick. Yeah. Good. Yeah, all good. Okay. Lovely. Right. So, you know, as I said, what could you do with the time? Well, you could teach others that you've learned, not learning from this webinar, but as I said, empowering others in your team to do tasks so that then you can delegate it down to them. Sharpen your saw. Well, that's another Stephen Covey idea. One of the habits, which is, you know, a lot of it's to improve your mental well-being or your physical well-being. Make a better plan. Be more commercial. I think that was one of the ones that came up as well in the suggestions. As I said earlier, the atomic habits from James Clear, the create better habits for yourself. So, for example, I don't know if you smoke, and maybe when you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do would be to have a cigarette, maybe replace that with a coffee. I don't know whether coffee is that much better. Probably is a little bit better. But you know, that might be something, for example, to change the habit. What's the first thing you do when you first wake up in the morning? If that's your habit, or indeed if you're trying to stop having coffee. I know myself. I have a habit. I get up in the morning, walk downstairs, put the kettle on, make a cup of coffee. Well, that's not good if I'm trying to reduce the amount of caffeine I'm having. So I think for me, I need to practice what I preach. So if I want to reduce my caffeine, I need to change my habit from thinking that part of my morning routine when I wake up
is wake up, go down, you know, and go and put the kettle on. So, and of course, then it's take time for yourself. So we're getting near to the end. I try not to take any more of your time. Oh, there we are. So look, you know, what about you? You know, at times, as I said, we can see the water rising around us. We've got stress, pressure, and you know, the lack of time can damage our ability to maintain perspective on what really matters, both in our workplace and in our personal lives. And we know very much, and look, it's not just a thing through COVID. I think it was already a thing in the last number of years, but you know, things like wellness, you know, we must make time for it. Or, you know, we focus to make time for our illness, if not for the wellness. So instead of trying to fit our important me time against our work commitments, it's, you know, really the aim should be try and flip it on its head, and try and fit in work into your me time, especially if I'm speaking to you and you are you know, an owner of a business where you're not necessarily an employee, you're not fit into structured hours, and you're running a business. And as I said at the very beginning, that very first slide, you know, who's running who? Is time in control of you, or are you in control of time? And for sure, if we can do this, there's a lot of evidence to say that, you know, you can be far more productive. So what would I recommend that your next steps are from this? I would recommend step number 1, define the distractions that you're going to minimize, the things we spoke about, the emails, the social media. Again, I'm not trying to sound preachy, but I found, especially during these months of lockdown, where I had to focus on so much client work, and as partners we were being, you know, called upon, you know, an intense amount. I deleted all social media bar WhatsApp from my phone. I just found it was a distraction. Not that I'm on it so much. I'm perhaps a little bit older, but it was a massive part of my life. But nevertheless, it was there. Just, oh, you know what? I'll just check on Facebook. I'll just check on Instagram, whatever it may be. I deleted them all, and I'm still logged in, but I still have an account, but I have it only on my desktop computer. So I'm then in control of social media, and I maybe go onto it of an evening and spend 15-20 minutes seeing what's going on, rather than it controlling me. So, and that comes links to clarify the habits you wish to create, and then it's I'd say of everything that I've spoken about and we've looked at together and things. Think of the 3 most important actions. So whether it was the looking at the outcomes and the things that you did during Nick's survey, looking at the various matrices, looking at the we said the achiever matrix, and looking at those things in Quadrant 4 and Quadrant 3. What things in Quadrant 4 could you get rid of? Just stop doing. In Quadrant 3, you could delegate down. Look at that and focus on. And these are the things that you can do. So don't worry about the things that you're not in control of. Worry about the things that you can control of. And of course, it's you know, don't try and do this all by yourself. A lot of this you can do yourself, which is great. But get support. Get support, whether it's from us. From us and the team, myself and my other partners, Davis Grant, who can all help you with this stuff, or indeed it's your co-directors, your co-senior leadership team, management team, or indeed your family. You know, work on this together wherever possible. And so really my penultimate slide is so of course, you know, how we can help. Well, there's a few things that will send out free should you wish. So we are please comment on the Zoom afterwards if you like this. So we're going to send the slides out anyway, but there's an actual, it's called an organizational review guide, which is really great, that can give you some tips that explain more about when I said the 10 hats and the different departments, really what should happen in each department and how it should be run. So that'd be good. The Achiever Matrix, more of a worksheet that you can fill out, and you can put in your boxes of what's urgent and what's not urgent, and what's important and what's not important. And also, just for this webinar, if anyone would like to have a complimentary 1-hour meeting, sort of, they don't even know where to begin with their time. It's so crazy. You don't even know where to begin. with pleasure, we will offer a sort of 1 hour meeting, which is totally complimentary. Other couple of bits, which is much more involved, is actually to assist you once you maybe have looked at that organizational review guide, is speak to us and we can actually come in. We can't come in at the moment with COVID, but we can, through the magic of the internet, we can come into your business and actually do organizational review and look at it and look at what could you be outsourcing, what could you empower, how it could work, how should the structure of your business really be. And then the last thing is accountability coaching. So much like you have a personal trainer who is as much, teaching you the techniques as they are knowing that they are going to be on your back in a positive way and demanding things off of you. So we do that for our clients as well. A number of those that want that, to actually be on them, write the targets, write what the aims are, and then be on them as well, and hope that they can achieve, and I'm sure they do achieve what they set out. So that's some of the things. And just to end on a little parting shot from as my kids, my daughter now finally convinced her at the age of 10 to watch all the Star Wars with me. She resisted until now, but we're with Disney Plus, we've now got them all. So that's all good, which is exactly this. Please don't come away from this webinar just saying, yeah, all great. Everything Stephen said made perfect sense. Yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Don't try. Do or do not. There is no try. So I'll end on that.
Thank you, Stephen.
What's the time? Look at that, 2 minutes over. Not bad. I've kept you the time, and that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So on a practical note, everyone, when the webinar does end, there is a short survey. So please do feel free to give us any feedback, suggest topics, tell us how you found the webinar. And you do have the option of saying, choosing one of those options that Stephen gave you. To say what next steps, what support you might want from us, be it those free documents, those free resources, or a free meeting, or actually just kind of hands-on time with a member of the team at Davis Grant. So please do fill in that survey at the end if you would like to. I will also be in contact with you by email, providing the slides and a link to the recording of this webinar. And please do feel free to speak to me and ask me for whatever support that you would like. I'm sure you would all like me to thank Stephen for his time, and thank you for everyone at Davis Grant for attending.
Pleasure. Wish everyone well over the festive period as well.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.